What if the best leaders are not the ones who had the easiest path?
Maybe they are the ones who know what it feels like to need support. Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work Besties!
Today, we are joined by Allie Grack, a nationally recognized marketing executive, agency founder, and leader who built her career on resilience, truth, and grit.
Allie's story is powerful. It is not polished. It is real.
After a difficult early life, moving through adoption, foster care, instability, and becoming a teen mom, Allie built a very different story for herself.
And she kept going.
Today, she's the founder of Workhorse Marketing, an agency built on transparency, strategy, honesty, and human connection. Allie's also passionate about creating better workplaces for women. Her leadership team is all women, and she is deeply committed to supporting, mentoring, and opening doors for others.
Today, we are talking about shape, purpose, messy mind, and how women can help each other rise.
Allie, welcome to Work Besties Who Podcast. When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today?
Great. I mean, it's a good question. Sometimes we forget to look in the rearview mirror a little bit and really dissect that. And honestly, that's the work I've been doing since I turned 50. It was that moment where you have to kind of just stop and go, what made me this way? Why am I like this in the truest sense, you know? And prior to that, I had been in survival mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next problem to solve, next solution, next thing. There's just a sense of peace around getting to a certain age where you realize this really isn't that difficult. Like, just let's break it down. Life doesn't have to be this complex. Let's figure out what it is. But I think a couple things came out of a really tumultuous childhood. I moved 11 times between third grade and junior year into all sorts of different situations. I was in foster care with a great family. I was in foster care with terrible families. I moved to a group home that was organized and coordinated by the Catholic Charities, and the primary caregiver was a Chinese woman who maybe didn't speak a lot of English. And so it's been a really interesting journey. My mom used to say that I'm not an episode of Oprah, I'm a season. That ages me a little because that is when Oprah was still on regular daytime TV. But I think what really helped with having that kind of instability is the ability to very quickly adjust to whatever is going on around you. Very easy for me to go, oh, we're doing this now, and switch lanes. And that really was so beneficial for me coming through my career in marketing when it was really heavily male dominated, where women maybe weren't supporting each other the way that now we're seeing so much more of, which I absolutely love. But it wasn't always like that, not in the 90s. And that was definitely beneficial. Also, the wilder things get, the calmer I get. So crisis management probably would have been a good career choice for me. When the Red Cross gets called in, I should have been on that plan. But I just get this like weird sense of calm, like immediate solution-based vision for what needs to happen to move that needle. And that's a survival mode thing. It's also an ADHD thing where we can sit from up above and go, I've already played the whole game and you're still wondering which game to play. It's very powerful to have that sense of what could, go worse than it's already gone. We're fine. Everything will be fine.
And how does all those great, things that you have, how did it help you lead as well?
I think it took a lot of reeling that into it in a sense. Like, I don't think 30-year-old Allie would have been as good a leader. And I was in those roles. And I know that I did the best I could at the time. But the perspective now and we say this all the time, like, we're not saving lives. It's marketing. And thank goodness, like, I don't want to ever be in a position where someone's life depends on me. Of course, they depend on us from a financial aspect, and clients depend on us for, the best result. But like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. Well, it took me until I was 50 to be able to feel safe enough in my career, in my decisions, in my home life to push that part of it forward. Like, let's be serious, and I always say, like, the Romans that built the Colosseum, like, no one knows who they are. They don't remember that they didn't have bread on a Tuesday, right? Like, all
Right.
these little minor things, take it in stride. And so that perspective really allowed me to reset what's important. If somebody's having a mental health day, why does the font size on a poster matter right then? Like, go and have some sense of prioritization in the people that are doing the work and putting in the time and caring passionately for what we do. That has to be reciprocated. And so having that sense of genuine, it can't be faked, it can't be written in a
Right.
corporate memo. I genuinely want what is best for the people around me. And that's really where Workhorse came to from a client standpoint. I had been in marketing for, since the beginning of my career. And the way that agencies would treat clients as just a wallet. Oh, you're worth exactly as much as you're willing to put out. Or your strategy isn't important to me because I know I can sell you radio. Right.
Mhm.
And so really getting into it with the idea of like, no, I want to use the skills I have to benefit a nonprofit that needs that money for a mission, or a small business who wants to pay for college for their daughter. But if you overspend on their budget, maybe that's not a goal they're going to reach. And so really taking a step back and going, how can I put what I do into the world in a good way?
I'd love to double click into now that you're 50, you're reflecting back and you're realizing the importance of empathy and leading with that. What would you say to your younger self now to have shifted that earlier?
Oh my gosh, like, slow down. That's what I would tell her. And you're not competing in this life with anybody else. This is your journey. So what you do with it is completely up to you. Stop looking at the woman who's, on the top floor with a corner office wearing Prada. Stop looking at the guy who got the promotion that you deserved but didn't. It's irrelevant, right? It's not always fair. Life is never going to be fair, but it's positioning you for where you need to be. Right. So all the bad bosses, all of the things that were, going on in the culture at the time, like, you have to really be able to focus in on what at the end of your life is going to really matter. And none of those meetings, those high-powered lunches, the impressing people that, you think are going to be able to move the needle for you, none of that matters now. And I wish I could go back and just stay truer to who I was and play less of the game, right? It
Yeah.
just it just it feels icky now looking back at the 20, in your 20s where you're just trying to climb the ladder. We were workaholics. I worked through many days where I should have been in bed, cuddled up and taking antibiotics, but you don't do that. And
No.
especially as a woman, you're going to slip down the ladder every day that you're not there positioning yourself. And
Yeah.
so, like, I love marketing. I've always loved marketing, but the game that it used to be, that was brutal. So
Yeah. Which
I'd be
I
like,
think in one aspect, things have evolved to some extent. So today that some of those same practices or expectations are not as rigorously upheld.
yes,
Not consistently. I'm sure there are some industries where there's some element of it, but it has gotten somewhat better. But there is still a little bit of it, right? So I think the more we encourage people at that 20s and 30s age to instill it.
You said several times also like leading with empathy and also being true to ourselves. But
yes,
for me, empathy cannot be taught. You have this emotional intelligence or you don't. So
yeah.
how do you teach that to someone?
I think you're right. I really don't know. I know mine has developed through doing the work, therapy, more therapy, and starting to align your view of the world with what makes more sense for what is actually going to propel success. And what does that even look like? What does success look like? In a lot of people's eyes, we've maintained our niche market for a marketing agency. I'm not trying to get 600 new clients a week, right? I want to work with clients that align with our team's vision. Maybe it can be, maybe not taught, but I think you can really change. I went from the you need to be here from 9 to 5, you need to be clicking your time card to that isn't the priority. And people's mental health, people's, value is more important than that. It, I think everyone has the ability in a sense. It's what you choose to do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's, in
really
my mind, it's kind of similar to leadership. Nobody's necessarily born with it. Don't you need to take the step back to learn skill sets for it? Because empathy, in a way, is understanding other people's perspective. It doesn't mean you have to feel their way. It doesn't mean you have to agree with their way. It's just
right.
taking the step back to allow them to be who they are versus you.
Mm. Maybe also is by being a leader with empathy, especially with the younger generation, is doing really the difference. And for them, then, you teach by example, and they can say, okay, it worked with me. That really, I loved how my manager, whatever, led with empathy. This is something I'm going to do. And maybe adjust a little bit to their own, right? But
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I mean, I think I can pinpoint certain people who I was inspired by from a leadership perspective. I also think going into a scenario, I acted on this from a staffing position. Who do I need on my team? Well, I knew what I knew really well:
Mhm.
strategy, marketing, overall big picture vision. But I don't want to do digital marketing. I don't want to run in the backside of Google and figure that out. So, like, I know that's not where my specialty is. So, I hired someone who was very, very good at this. And, when I start after, a few years of like, is this even going to work? Like, this was kind of a weird concept for a marketing agency, like work for your client. Like, I know that sounds like intuitive, but it was not intuitive in the space. After a few years, I was like, there are things I'd like to fix and do better. I mean, we're working with a consultant right now on psychological safety on a team and how to increase each other's sense of like, it's okay to say, hey, Allie maybe didn't know this was wrong, or come to someone and go, hey, we could have done this better or differently. If you don't have that psychological safety to do that, then it's going to get missed and it's going to,
Yeah.
build and grow. And all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, we can't tell Allie anything because, she's big and
Yeah.
scary. So working with that as a team and even just processes, having a project manager that's burnt out isn't helping anybody. How do
Yeah.
we relieve that, that stress and all become a part of project management or business development or client retention? And so making everybody have a sense of ownership in something that isn't necessarily their thing. I mean, our CFO sits in on every single internal meeting. She does not need to know 87% of what we're talking about, but she now has a sense of understanding and ownership. They're not long meetings. We have one, once a day, except on Fridays. But then it also connects her to the team. So when
Mhm.
somebody's talking about, the crazy promotion we're doing and in North Carolina, she can have that conversation and feel a part of it and connect to that. So it's those little tweaks of, not siloing the team. And what if my, CFO decides that she wants to do video production or maybe work on copywriting on the side? Allowing those open lanes allows women to develop something that they may not have ever even considered.
Consider.
So,
Mhm.
So we commented in the very beginning that you do lead a team of women. What have you learned about leading women in a way that supports their ambition without creating that burnout?
oh, that's a good question. It's them seeing the effort that I am making to give them support in those spaces. If you have a therapy appointment at 2 in the afternoon, block it off. I expect you to prioritize that over whatever else is going on. And things like we'll take, extra days off on the front ends backs of holidays because those are stressful times with family, the day before Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, nobody's working. And if you've been around marketing, between Christmas and New Year's, you could just shoot a cannon through every
Yeah.
office and nobody's there. So we try it was pretty fun and flexible. But I think really just setting the example of the imperfections, right? I don't put myself up on some pedestal and pretend like I have all the answers. I go to them with questions about how we could do things better, or bringing consultants in and saying, look, she's gonna center us. But yeah, I mean, it's a challenging thing because you're running in an emotional space, and that's okay. It's not a dangerous thing. Like everybody talks about emotions, like it's scary. We just don't hold them in and then, do crazy things. We get our emotions out and express that, but doing it in a healthy and productive way is really, important. And they need to know that it's okay. I mean, I have my therapy appointments visible on my calendar, so then they're like, at least like, oh,
You're leading
there's
by
no
example. Yeah,
here.
there's no negative to it.
Yeah. Because I'm
So
still
you
learning every day is a new lesson.
you openly admitted that you have ADHD, and I heard you talk a little bit about the messy mind. What does that phrase mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny because honestly, it was such a hard go at first. One of my things that I really, really, really have to work on is slow talkers. Okay. So if you're
Mhm.
having a conversation with me, I've already finished the conversation and you're halfway through the sentence and I want to say it so bad. I want to finish your sentence for you so bad. So that's something I've had to really focus on. But I think it gives me creativity. I never know what's going to pop into my head. Some of the campaigns that we've come up with, I am just so proud of because I think if you were in a really linear mind, it wouldn't even occur to you to do that,
Mhm.
and so, but it's been a burden and a blessing. You say you actually said something earlier that really inspired me with the leadership thing, right? Like leadership is the girl who stands up in the group project and just takes over. Well, I was bossy, right? So is that
Yeah.
a good thing or was that leadership as a kid? Is being the most vocal one in the room annoying to your teacher, or is it something we should be inspiring in young girls to be willing to stand up and give their opinion vocally? And I fought with that for years. Like people did not want to have an 8, 10, 12-year-old explain why they were wrong and, why your perspective is valid. So I think some of it is just learning how to use it in a productive way.
Agreed. So I wanted to just focus a little bit more on the power of the messy mind. You hit on two things that definitely feel very authentic to me, where slow talking people, you have to remind yourself not to speed up the conversation and be done with it. I do that myself. And you also commented about how your brain is kind of constantly going. What would you say to someone who has been told that is almost too much, that they're too scattered or too intense because of it?
It's hard. I really being too much, right? I learned early on to use my voice because I didn't have a lot of other direction,
Right.
right? I wasn't being parented. So it became a survival skill, but it was not pretty. I didn't make a lot of adult friends in my childhood because I was fighting. I was out there in the battle. So I think when I talk to other people who are like, oh God, my mind is always racing. I'm like, put it on a track. Like get that thing sorted out. Don't let it control you. Use it to your benefit. And that's really where the creativity comes in. I did a stream of conscious one night when I was laying in bed and the stuff that goes through my head in the middle of the night is just wacky. If you had to list all the businesses that I have started in my head, um, I one day was sitting on the porch and saw a milkweed like fluff go by and I felt it. I was like, this is so soft. Why don't people use this? Like we should, you know, buy more milkweed. And
Talk to us about this. You purposely did hire different styles of people, so they must have
yeah,
different working styles. So how do you do that without losing kind of the focus or structure of what you're still trying to accomplish?
Right. The key, is being open and not feeling like everyone has to be a mirror
Mm,
to you. I don't want to look in the mirror all day.
uh,
I'm a lot. And so having multiples of this would be too much for
yeah.
anybody. I'm actually so lucky. We were very good friends for years. She is a CFO. And at one point, I really need a financial person. And I did not think she would take me up on it. I was like, oh, come work for me. And she was like, okay, done. But, our personalities are so complementary. So when I come to her and go, okay, hear me out. I always start sentences with her like this, like, okay, hear me out. We buy a plane. And she's like, no, no. And I just know, like, if she's not like at least asking a follow-up question, she's already thought through my crazy ideas. Right. So that complete opposite is so powerful if you allow it. Our digital director, she goes and works on the backside of the moon on Google. I could not. I could not. I would lose my mind. It's all tech, it's all back end, it's all digital. And yet she brings so much to the team because of that analytical brain that we need, because not everybody can just sit around and come up with crazy ideas. We have to be able to
Right.
execute them in the exact way that is going to provide the most benefit to the team. So I think it's really important that you step out of your body when you're talking to people and hiring. Because sometimes, like, if we connect too much on an interview, I'm going to be like, ooh, but I'm hiring you to be an accountant. I don't know if this is a great play. We're never going to get anything
Yeah, that's fair.
done.
You have to have rapport, but not be the same. You don't want to mirror. Allie, you have been in the marketing space for quite some time, and you commented how when you started, you were in a very male dominated sector. What did that teach you about the importance of supporting women?
It's really funny because it took me a long time to get on board that idea. Um, Other women were worse at, to a certain point in the workspace back then because we were all fighting for the same one
Yep.
spot that was going to be open. And you were better off spending your time smoking cigars and drinking bourbon than you were helping other women in their career because it wasn't going to do you any good and you'd be a troublemaker and all of those things. Like, it sounds so antiquated, but we're talking about pre cell phone, pre computer. This was a different
Mm,
world. And we didn't have a lot of this emotional intelligence stuff. I mean, we were raised by boomers. Put your emotions away, get to work and do what you need to do. And I honestly was raised by much older boomers. My dad was 50 when I was born and they adopted me. He was retired by the time I was in middle of high school. So that was it. Work ethic, work, work, work. I wish I could go back and find a path to start being supportive to women
mhm.
earlier. And I wish I could find a path where there had been more women who were encouraging me down this path. Um, it was unfortunate, and so I think I want to do it more now as, like, a mea culpa.
Okay.
Like, I am so sorry that younger Allie wasn't more, supportive. Now, by the time I was, in my mid-30s, things had started to change and develop, and we were doing that, and, I'm grateful for that, and I have had some good women along the way in leadership roles, but they were few and far between, very few and far between in my
Hmm.
career.
Right.
So you're saying you said earlier that you're trying now to do what at 30 you didn't have. So what kind of support do you think women really need to for them to be able to grow?
I think it's a sense of willingness for someone to believe in them, that you can do this job, that you are the right person for this job. I think honesty, maybe when it's not the right role or position, we have to be able to say, I love and respect you enough to tell you this isn't the right space for you. Um, and not making people feel bad about having human feelings,
Right.
right? Like,
Yes.
giving them a sense of, like, it's okay to have a mental break once in a while. Like, we all need that. They all know that they can take a mental health day. They all know they can, that they're safe, that telling me that they're having a rough time with a family member is a safe thing to do. I could have
No.
never, given that grace. So I think it's really just about if we're going to look back on our legacy, at the end of this journey, right? Like nobody's going to remember in 50 years what campaigns we did on a Tuesday. But if you can have that legacy mean that like someone took a path they weren't going to take and accelerated in it, or had been doing a job for a really long time and realized they hated it and didn't feel like they had a way out. Like if you can look back and go, I opened that pathway for somebody, like that's really all it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, doing something positive for the next generation. It's like when you plant a tree, you're giving shade to people you'll never meet.
Yeah.
Or when people build cathedrals. I always think about that when I'm in Europe. I'm a huge traveler. People who built these cathedrals never saw them finished. Some of them took hundreds of years. I mean, look at the one in Barcelona that was just completed after 246 years. Doing something now that will have no benefit to you in your lifetime, that's cool.
One of the things that is so imperative and helpful in the work environment is having a rapport with people. So we're curious, do you have a work bestie?
I mean, I kind of put my bestie in work with me when my friend Kim, she's my CFO, like I said, we had worked together prior. We have traveled internationally every year, basically, since 2014 together.
Wow.
We have spent months abroad. I call her my wifey. So a shout out to my work wifey. Her and my husband actually were born on the same day.
Funny.
And it's universally the coolest thing that has ever happened to me. I trust her with my life. She knows my funeral plans. My husband doesn't. She knows where my bank accounts are. My husband doesn't. Bless him. He's the cutest. But we'll just let her take care of those things. Like, so I do. I absolutely do. And I'm so grateful for it. And even if she quit, she'd still be, she would still have to stay on.
For sure. But at least you're
Oh,
traveling.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I have to say is like we are all, I mean, you're a bit younger, but all more or less the Gen X generation, like starting like close to 50 or past 50. And I think that it's really now that we think like friendship, woman friendship is more and more important. That's when you really realize how important it is for the support. It's not your husband, it's not your partner, whatever. It's really your girlfriend and how important it is to cherish them.
Yeah, I would be lost. And, I used to think you had to have a big group. And so I would like hoard, people and like have these big groups. I need like 6, like you have to have like a little variety pack. But I have for years that I want the Golden Girl plan. I want like to go move in a house with my bed, like God forbid. And honestly, my husband would do it too. He loves all my girlfriends.
We do have one last question for you. If someone listening wants to become a more empathetic leader, mentor, or ally, where should they start this week?
Step down, like take everything that you know or think defines you and just set it down for a minute and then look at it objectively. Is what you are at this moment how you want to be defined and described? If someone was giving your eulogy, are those the descriptors? And I'm honestly fine with mine. Like you don't have to like me. You don't have to find me funny, but those things still are very important to me, that I've made a life out of something that couldn't have been easy. But I sometimes have to still step down and go, are we there yet? Right? Are we doing the work? Are we living up to the taglines that we're preaching? If we write the book, are we living it? Well, it's very difficult. So I think taking the lens and being honest, you have to be honest. I own my imperfections now. Before it was really hard to say that this is my responsibility. And now I'm like, yeah, I've made mistakes. Like, anybody who can say they have it all figured out terrifies me a little bit.
Yeah. No, don't trust them.
No.
Yeah, no, you're not being honest.
Yeah.
Like, and you actually said it to let them. I'm like,
yeah,
sure, buddy.
Allie, how can people find you if they want to learn more?
I love a LinkedIn moment. I'm the only Allie Grack in the world, so it's like really easy to find me on LinkedIn. But our main webpage for the business is teamworkhorse.com. There's a great little pop-up that comes up and says, hey, you want to hang out and chat? Like, I would love to connect. I'm actually kind of on a mission to find other women who went through the system.
Okay.
As a child who have found their way through it. I think there's a story there that has not ever been told.
Definitely.
About how many we lost to that system. It was a difficult journey. So I would love to talk to other women about that.
Oh, I love that. That's a great call to attention. We will definitely keep in here and ensure
I would
people
love-
think about that. Allie, thank you. This
Yeah.
was so fun. I think I laughed more than anything. This was
Good. Life's too short to
Yeah.
not. I think that's me too, is you've got to have fun with
great.
it.
We just want to say thank you again.
Thank you.
And to all the work
Thank you
besties
guys.
out there, keep supporting each other.
Thanks.
When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today? When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today? When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today? When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today? When you look back at your path, how did your early experiences shape the way that you lead today?
Remember, whether you're swapping snacks in the break room, rescuing each other from endless meetings, or just sending that perfectly timed meme, having a work bestie is like having your own personal hype squad.
So keep lifting each other up, laughing through the chaos, and of course, thriving. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and don't forget to keep supporting each other.